A grand jury says there will be no indictment for Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson in the shooting of 18-year-old Michael Brown.
It's important to show the fact that there are organizations that don't hate.
A Latina sorority at Cal State Northridge has held an event to present their new members. The NFL has announced that the singer Katy Perry will be headlining the Super Bowl halftime show.
This is Valley View News.
Hello and welcome to Valley View News. I'm Eric Roberts.
And I'm Lauren Lanos. There will be no indictment for Darren Wilson, the Ferguson, Missouri police officer responsible for shooting Michael Brown. The highly anticipated grand jury decision came Monday evening amidst crowds of protesters outside the Ferguson, Missouri police headquarters.
They determined that no probable cause exists to file any charge against Officer Wilson and returned a no true bill on each of the 5 indictments.
There were protesters outside the Ferguson Police Department all day waiting the announcement. Michael Brown's family said it was disappointed by the decision not to indict Officer Wilson and called for protesters to remain peaceful. Brown was shot and killed after shoplifting cigars from a convenience store. Brown and Wilson were involved in an altercation a few blocks away. Wilson fired a number of shots, killing the unarmed 18-year-old. Wilson supporters argued that evidence showed Brown attack the officer. At least one witness said Brown had his hands raised in surrender when he was shot. Valley View News talked with CSUN Africana Studies Department Chair Professor David Horn shortly after the announcement that Wilson would not be indicted.
I'm not surprised at the grand jury's decision. I'm disappointed, obviously. I do expect a federal indictment very soon, just as there had to be a federal indictment in the Rodney King case when justice seemed not to have been properly served. The 5th Amendment and the 14th Amendment protect American citizens against having our life, our liberty, our property taken from us without the due process of law. The man got shot 2 times in the back and 5, 6, 7 times in the front, holding his hands up saying he surrendered. That is not a proper use of police protection. I'm not saying that Officer Wilson is guilty of a crime, but I am saying that it would have been better to put him into a situation where all the evidence could have been brought to light, and there could have been a public discussion, a public forum over whether his actions were lawful or not. Right now, the perception is you got away with murder.
Cleveland police officers shot and killed a 12-year-old boy whose toy gun reportedly looked real. An officer shot Tamir Rice after he was unable to tell if the boy's pistol was real. Authorities say the gun was missing a plastic orange tip that would have indicated the gun was a toy. Police responded to a 911 caller from a recreation center who said a boy was pointing a pistol at people. Officers arrived at the scene and ordered Rice to stop and show his hands. Rice reached into his waistband and pulled out the weapon as one officer fired. Rice died after surgery. Officials say the officer did not know that Rice was a 12-year-old boy.
Los Angeles film producer Charles Belk says he was wrongfully arrested in August, but is now working to help improve the criminal justice system.
Retired police sergeant Cheryl Dorsey joined Belk to talk about the issue based on her experiences in the LAPD.
Melissa Trahan and Marcelino Rallo sat down with them.
Thank you so much for taking the time out for your busy schedules to be with us today. We have Cheryl Dorsey with us, author of The Creation of a Manifesto Black and Blue and retired LAPD sergeant.
And we also have Mr. Charles Belk in the studio. He is a film producer and currently an activist on a very relevant cause. You have witnessed firsthand what it's like to deal with an incident with racial profiling. And not only has it taken time out of your life, you have also had developed an arrest record. Can you sort of explain what you had to go through to alleviate that?
Absolutely. Thanks for the question. It was for me, a fairly completely new experience. Had never got arrested before. So trying to understand that what it was going to be the after effect. Once I thought that I was all cleared and there was no problem, I was innocent, I found out I had an arrest record. And I started asking around. A lot of folks who have been arrested don't know they still have an arrest record out there, and they need to get that expunged or it will stay with them. One of the things that we did was started a campaign called the Auto Erase Campaign, which requires that when a law enforcement agency makes a mistake and wrongfully arrests you, it's then become, the onus is on them to auto erase that record, automatically erase that record, so that you won't have to, as an individual, spend an average of $5,000 and sometimes up to 6 months getting this arrest record taken care of other folks with the same situation.
Right. With you starting this auto arrest petition, I know that you asked all 50 of U.S. attorneys generals to jump in on this with you. Can you tell us what states have jumped in on this with you and maybe which ones haven't and why that is?
So we're approaching it from, just to be clear, we're approaching it from several different standpoints. From an administrative standpoint, which are the Attorney General's office, and then from a legislative standpoint by getting legislators to introduce new bills to hopefully become laws. What I found out from the California State Attorney General office is that for a situation like mine, where a law enforcement agency wrongfully arrests someone, all they have to do is send an official memorandum to the California State Attorney General office, and the Attorney General will then pull it out of the state records and notify the federal government to pull it out of the federal records. That's a very little known operation procedure that apparently a lot of law enforcement agencies didn't know about. The Attorney General is issuing an official bulletin to all of the law enforcement agencies in the state of California. They're going to give me that, and we're going to send that out to all 50 attorney generals to make sure that, hey, do you guys have a procedure like this that maybe your local law enforcement agencies need to be reminded of? So we're excited about that. On the legal side of it, from a legislative standpoint, we have 4 state legislators that are already agreed. In fact, bills are in drafting, and one is supposed to get introduced this month, November. We have Chicago, Illinois. We have a representative from Los Angeles, California. So California, Illinois, Ohio, and North Carolina are the 4 states thus far.
All right. Well, now we're going to sort of change our perspective on this a little bit and talk about, Cheryl, your book. From your perspective, in this case with Charles, and like so many others, what do you think could have been done differently?
I think unless and until police departments, number one, are willing to admit that there's a problem, that they didn't get it right, we're going to continue to see this replicate itself again and again and again. And so my hope is that going forward with this petition and with the auto erase and with just the attention that has been drawn to Charles's situation, other police departments may have some dialogue during roll call and talk about what went wrong in this situation. How can we do things better? Because that's what we do as police officers. We learn from others' mistakes, right? And so if you see an opportunity to do something different, to change the way that you operate, why wouldn't you want to do that? And so sometimes what we do as law enforcement officials is not always black and white. It's not always something that you were taught or trained or you read in a manual. Sometimes it's just what makes good sense. And so if you stop someone and they are able to articulate in the way that Charles was, that, hey, I just walked out of a restaurant, I've got a receipt that's time-stamped, please go take 10 steps and talk to these people and verify this, why wouldn't you want to do that?
Any last comments regarding this topic? Cheryl Dorsey, we'll start with you.
So I'll just say this real quick, just to kind of piggyback on what Charles just talked about, the patience that he showed, because what I encourage people to do, and it matters not your ethnicity, I say you cannot hold court curbside. And so the very best thing for you to do is be an advocate for yourself, be a good witness for yourself, go along with the officer's directives, whether you feel they are justified or not. And then there's a procedure and a way to handle that after the fact. And really the best way to do that is to create a paper trail, not a telephone call to internal affairs, not a telephone call to the front desk, but write a letter and you CC about 6 or 7 people, starting with the chief of police on down, and make sure that somebody knows what just occurred.
What I would say is that things are going to happen. They're going to continue to happen to you, but make sure that you understand your goal is to get home safely. Afterwards, tell your story. Make sure you tell your story. Don't sit on it. Tell your story, even if it's just through social media, and then do something about it. We have a lot of things to change in this country. We're not going to individually change everything, but we can individually change one thing. My one thing is auto erase. Your one thing may be something completely different, but do it. 10 years from now, all of our one things will have changed society.
Thank you so much again for being with us today. We'll send it back to you guys.
Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel is stepping down. The New York Times says Hagel handed in his letter of resignation after a series of meetings Hagel had with President Obama. Hagel is the first of President Obama's senior advisors to leave the administration after Republicans took control of the Senate. Huffington Post reports President Obama says it's time for new leadership in the Pentagon. The change comes at a time when the U.S. is dealing with key foreign issues like the rise of the Islamic State and militants in Iraq and Syria. Hagel will remain in office until the Senate confirms his replacement.
Republicans have been divided on how to respond to President Obama's immigration initiative. Earlier this week, the president announced legislation plans for more than 4 million undocumented immigrants. He says this plan is not meant to spark debate on the importance of different people.
What we can do is to prioritize felons, criminals, recent arrivals, folks who are coming right at the border, and acknowledge that if somebody's been here for over 5 years, they may have an American child or a legal permanent resident child. It doesn't make sense for us to prioritize them.
Several Republicans are in favor of supporting Obama's efforts, while others are not. House Speaker John Boehner is not in favor of the president's plan. He favors efforts to continue immigrant deportations. A possible government shutdown may take place until both deciding parties agree on a compromise.
Protests over the disappearance of 43 students have been organized in Mexico and the United States. In Mexico City, the parents of the missing students, demonstrators, and university students marched on the capital's central square. During the protests, mass demonstrators clashed with riot police. As the protests ended, mass protesters threw rocks, fired small rockets, and lobbed Molotov cocktails at the presidential palace. Federal investigators say the missing students are probably dead. They say that the police in the city of Iguala detained the 43 missing male students in late September. They were then handed over to members of a drug cartel who killed them, burned their bodies, and threw the remains into a river. Recently, authorities released a statement saying a top local police official in Mexico has been arrested in connection to the 43 college students.
Valley View News reporter Laura Camello went downtown and has more on the local protest of the 43 missing students.
Mexicans took the streets of Los Angeles to demand answers of the 43 missing students. Protesters came together at MacArthur Park across the street from the Mexican consul. Many carrying handmade signs, both in English and in Spanish. Others wore black, and pictures of the disappeared students were displayed. They chanted together saying, "We want justice now."
It's really important that we protect that right, like wherever it is, wherever in the world. And it's not just the fact that 43 human beings are missing, I think, is something that we need to be in the streets about. And I feel like Mexico might undergo another revolution, like who knows.
They were also venting their frustration and anger over what they consider a widespread political corruption. She says she is in pain to see what is going on in my country. The kidnapping of these students has us worried and in much pain. Hours later, they began to shout the numbers 1 to 43 to mourn the abduction and likely murder of the 43 college students. The march that ended late at night sought the answers of the students who disappeared on September 26. Usually November 20 is a day reserved for the celebration of Mexico's revolution, but Mexicans were in no mood for celebrations.
43 students, that's a lot of students to be missing. So basically to bring attention to what's going on in Mexico and the corruption and also the corruption here. And there's just too many things going on at once where it's just like, you know what, we have to address it.
Many Mexicans say and have put a spotlight on President Enrique Peña Nieto, whose 2012 presidential campaign focused on a promise to reduce crime and corruption. Showing their anger, they chanted for President Enrique Peña Nieto to step down. Mexico officially lists over 22,000 people as having gone missing since the start of the country's drug war in 2006. This march also took place internationally, and in Mexico, what started as a peaceful march ended violently with police and protest groups battling.
Marking the anniversary of the Mexican Revolution, several activists and students across the world marched to demand answers on where the 43 missing Mexican students are. 50 days have passed and there's no answers. In Los Angeles, I'm Laura Camello for Valley View News.
Some University of California students say they're planning to walk out in protest of tuition hikes. UC Regents say they voted to raise tuition because California is not providing enough state funding to the UC system. Students at UC Berkeley plan to walk by high schools to show the effect a tuition increase would have on future college students. The increase will only affect out-of-state students and families earning more than $150,000 a year. Tuition is expected to increase 5% a year over the next 5 years.
The University of Virginia is temporarily suspending all fraternities. The action follows a Rolling Stone article detailing the alleged gang rape of a student. The student told Rolling Stone that she was invited to a Phi Kappa Psi party where 7 men allegedly raped her. University President Teresa Sullivan says people who know what happened need to come forward. Phi Kappa Psi issued a statement saying it would cooperate with the university and authorities.
CSUN has banned all Greek activities because of recent hazing, but one sorority has been able to conduct one of its main events. Valley View's reporter Gladys Amesqua covered the nighttime event.
Lambda Theta Alpha Latin Sorority Incorporated, the first Latina sorority in the nation, celebrates its new member presentations. Other Latino fraternities and Latina sororities came to support the event, as well as the chapters from different universities. One of the most important elements of their event is showcasing that they're a non-hazing organization. A founding sister of Delta Omega chapter at CSUN, Vanessa Bustamante, says they're against hazing.
Lambda Theta Alpha has partnered up with nationalhazingprevention.org, and we've been partnered with them for many years. And I think in light of everything that's been happening on campus, it's important to show the fact that there are organizations that don't haze.
Last month, Vice President of Student Affairs and Dean of Students, William Watkins, released a letter stating immediate termination of all new member pledge activities. Within the letter, he also stated that chapters that continue to pledge will be immediately suspended and removed from the university. Bustamante also says her sorority went through a process to get permission to hold the event.
The girls had countless meetings with the director of involvement here at CSUN. They had a lot of paperwork they had to sign.
The new sisters came in marching, followed by a demonstration chant. Shortly after they were unveiled, they each introduced themselves to their Greek community. The University of California Santa Barbara LTA chapter showed their devoted support by attending.
We're not from CSUN, but we know what's going on. So I feel like just the fact that they came through us in line and you saw them, they were very united.
One of the new LTA's sister, Brenda Vieira, says she's grateful to be part of the organization that strives to help its members and its community.
Well, I'm really glad that we got a chance to finish it through, especially with everything happening at CSUN. It's really not fair for all of the orgs to suffer. I mean, I'm really proud of my org.
One concern throughout the event was the fear that there might be a risk for those present due to threats and recent vandalism targeted towards the Greek community.
Despite the recent controversy here at CSUN with the Greek system, LTA has been able to stick together and follow up with the tradition that has been in the sorority for many years.
In Northridge, Gladys Amesqua, Valley View News.
Coming up in sports, we review the always anticipated football game between the UCLA Bruins and the USC Trojans.
And find out what boxer Manny Pacquiao has in store for him.
Today, 1 out of every 4 American kids is Hispanic. That means many of the future doctors who will care for us, the engineers who will build our cities, the scientists and entrepreneurs of our country can be your kids. We all know how hard it is for you to send them to college. This is why we want you to know you are not alone. And every day more people support you to make it happen. Many support you. And the Hispanic Scholarship Fund helps you prepare, plan, and pay for your kids' college education. HSF.net.
I'm a teacher. Let me tell you what I make. I make learning a privilege, not a chore, and frustration a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy and giving up impossible. I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought, and unconventional methods common. I'm a teacher. I make more.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Now let's go to Dean Perez with sports.
Thank you, Eric. College football's SoCal rivalry is heating up at the Rose Bowl. UCLA beat the Trojans 38-20, extending USC's losing streak to the Bruins to 3 games. UCLA's quarterback Brett Hundley threw over 300 yards with 3 touchdown passes and 1 rushing TD. And the UCLA defense sacked USC quarterback Matt Kessler 6 times. After the game, Hundley told reporters that UCLA now rules football in the city of Los Angeles. New York Giants wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. made one of the greatest catches in NFL history. Eli Manning completed the 43-yard touchdown pass to Beckham, who caught the ball with one hand, stayed in bounds, all while being fouled. Beckham says he thanks his mother. He inherited her large hands. She must have been mighty athletic, too. Now let's recap Sunday's games in the NFL. Despite Beckham's immaculate reception, the Giants weren't able to get past the Cowboys. Romo led Dallas to a 31-28 victory in New York. The 49ers squeezed one out against Washington, winning 17-13. The defending champ Seattle Seahawks stifled the Cardinals' offense, 19-3, winning at home against the best team in the NFC. And the Browns won in the final seconds against the Falcons, 26-24. The San Diego Chargers edged out the St. Louis Rams 27-24, and Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers defeated the Minnesota Vikings 24-21. The NFL's playoff picture sure is shaping up, and the Patriots are looking pretty unstoppable. I got them going all the way. I think that's a pretty safe bet. The Anaheim Ducks and the Los Angeles Kings are fighting for a position in the NHL's race for the playoffs. The Ducks sit atop of the Pacific Division and Western Conference at the quarter mark of the NHL's regular season. The Ducks have grabbed 31 of possible 44 points through their first 22 games. The Kings trail the Ducks by 5 points and sit in 4th place in the Pacific Division. The Kings have struggled on the road to this point of the season, but they boast the NHL's best record at home, having won 10 out of 13 games at Staples Center. The stage was set in China as Manny Pacquiao took on Chris Algieri, where Pacquiao made a statement with a dominant performance. Both boxers knocked gloves before the fight, but Pacquiao was the one doing the knocking as he landed 2 left shots to Algieri. Pacquiao was too much for Algieri as he dominated through most of the match, landing the powerful left punch. This knockdown to Algieri was one of 6 knockdowns given to him by Pacquiao. The fighter defends his welterweight title by defeating Chris Algieri by unanimous decision. As for that Pacquiao fight and Mayweather, I'm waiting for that one. If they were to fight, who would you get on that one, Eric?
I definitely have to go with Pacquiao, man. Definitely. Coming up in entertainment, we take a look at the big performances of the 2014 AMAs.
And which artists went home as winners.
NFC, AFC, offensive linemen, defensive tackles, quarterbacks, and cornerbacks are all living united to ensure the academic success of millions of kids in our communities all the way to graduation day. But that won't happen without you. So take the pledge at unitedway.org. Make a difference in the life of a child. Suit up like your favorite NFL players and become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor with United Way.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Mommy, I don't feel so well.
Okay,
You wouldn't give yourself or your loved one poison, would you? Then why would you take or give counterfeit medications that may contain the wrong or no active ingredient? Counterfeit medications are out there. They can be ineffective and harmful to your health. Be a smart consumer and know your pharmacy, especially if you're purchasing medication online.
Now let's go to Eddie Gaona with entertainment. Eddie?
Thank you, Lauren. Bill Cosby's reputation continues to suffer after another woman accused him of rape. Former supermodel Janice Dickinson told Entertainment Tonight that Cosby assaulted her in 1982. She says that he gave her a pill and a glass of red wine shortly before she passed out. Dickinson is the latest of 15 women who have accused Cosby of sexual assault. Netflix has postponed a stand-up comedy special starring Cosby, and NBC stopped developing a comedy show featuring the comedian. TV Land has removed reruns of The Bill Cosby Show. Cosby has not publicly responded to the allegations. One Direction and Katy Perry were the big winners of the American Music Awards, taking home 3 honors each. One Direction won the coveted title Artist of the Year over the powerhouse acts like Beyonce and Luke Bryan. Breakthrough newcomer Iggy Azalea beat heavyweights Eminem and Drake in the rap categories. Taylor Swift probably stole the show with her performance of the #1 hit, Blank Space. She also received the first ever Dick Clark Award for Excellence. Sam Smith and Katy Perry won the awards for favorite male and female artists in the pop rock category. Beyonce and John Legend won the awards for favorite female and male artists in the soul R&B category. In the country world, Luke Bryan and Carrie Underwood took home the awards for favorite male and female artists. The album for the movie Frozen won the award for top soundtrack. The NFL has confirmed that Katy Perry will be headlining the next Super Bowl halftime show. Perry has sold over 72 million digital singles and has received 11 Grammy nominations and 5 MTV Video Music Awards. The Pepsi Super Bowl halftime show is the most watched musical event in recent years. Last year's show had more than 115 million viewers in the U.S. The Super Bowl game is set for February 1st in Glendale, Arizona. Mockingjay Part 1 hit theaters and did not catch fire like the previous Hunger Games debuts. While the Mockingjay is still exploded at the top of the box office with an impressive $123 million and the highest opening weekend of 2014. The Lionsgate franchise movie did not reach the heights of its predecessors. The first Hunger Games installment opened with $152 million back in 2012, while last year's The Hunger Games Catching Fire scored a $158 million. The high-budget film has been heavily marketed and stars Jennifer Lawrence. And in the new Mockingjay movie, the actress has a special scene in which she comes out singing. Kim Kardashian may have tried to break the internet with her scandalous magazine cover, but Beyonce almost succeeded. Queen Bee herself posted a new video of her new song, 7-Eleven. The low-budget video is scoring big with her fans. The music video quickly racked up hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube and was trending on Twitter and Facebook. Beyonce re-released her album this week, which includes extra songs and a higher price tag. That's all we have for entertainment. Back to you.
That's all we have for today's show. I'm Lauren Lanos.
And I'm Eric Roberts. Have a good day.